Hello, everyone. This is Sean Daly with the Global Voice Acting Academy. I am very excited because we have with us the VO Mama, Miss Joyce Castellanos. How are you doing today, Joyce?
Hi, Sean. I'm very good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm talking with some of the best in the business and soaking everything up like a sponge. So I'm having a wonderful day.
That's the best part, right?
Absolutely. So the purpose of these interviews, of course, is to get to know our coaches a little bit better and get to know them as people and their personal coaching style. So that's what I'd like to start with is how would you describe your coaching style, Joyce?
My coaching style is more of a nurturing style. Um, by that, I mean, I like to find something positive first, and then if we need to make some adjustments, we're able to make that uh, with the opportunity to keep things light so that you don't feel uh, that you're under a lot of pressure. I don't believe pressure is the way to give your best performance. I do believe in being direct, however. So, the nurturing comes from knowing more about the person, the individual actor, so I can take notes from that and understand how to basically find the individual and work with them. Intimidation is not my style. Everybody works differently, but mine is the little more warm and fuzzy, but definitely direct. And I will challenge the individual, but it's more in a kind way.
That's fantastic. And because actors tend to work ourselves up so easily on our own, we don't want that additional stressor from our coaches. And like you were saying, you really need to come from a place of relaxation, of comfort in order to give your best performance. So why would you scare your actor if you're trying to work with them?
I've always believed that, and when I was working for the networks, that was one of the things that I would do that sometimes drove the bosses a little nuts. They would like, time is money. You gotta get, they're here. You gotta get them in the booth. And because my style was, if they were a new voice actor to our company, I would have them sit down in the room and talk for 5 minutes. That's not wasting a lot of time. In fact, that's saving a lot of time. So I would talk to them, just kind of get to know who they are, what they're about, and give them a sense of comfort that they could feel that I had their back. They had to trust me to be able to direct them and get them to their performance that was going to be what we needed. And in reality, they would go in, and the pros were the pros. They would go in, they were relaxed, they would give me the read within 2 to 3 takes, and they were done. That, in essence, saved so much money for the company because we were able to get them in half an hour instead of working an hour, and we were able to go on with other things. So yes, that's why I developed that style. I think it's just much more important. Like you said, on-camera actors and voice actors alike, you get very nervous initially, which we all do. Anytime we're doing some kind of a performance, there's that initial nervousness. But to be able to take a breath and feel protected by your director and protected in that, they understand you, you understand them, what you're going for. It's a very different perspective when you get in the booth as a protected actor.
Mm-hmm. And I love that you actively try to build that trust when you first meet a new actor, because it sounds very important to get to know the other person, or for you when you work with someone. So.
It is, because if I understand their sense of humor and maybe something about their past or something that what makes them tick, I can key into that as a director and help bring that out in the performance, it just makes things much easier.
Mhm.
Ease of performance is what we want.
Yeah, and I think it was Andrea Romano who said, "It's like we all want you to do a good job. Like what? Like nobody wants you to fail." So,
And that's the exact truth. We're looking, if you're chosen to come in and do something, we want you to succeed. We're not looking to make you look bad. Because if you look bad, we look bad as a director. And
uh-huh.
that's what the actor has to understand. We're there to make you look as good as you can, and to give your best performance so you're proud. That way everybody wins on it.
Wonderful. So changing gears just a little bit. So what I think is interesting about you, Joyce, is that you work primarily in promo voiceover, and it can seem so mysterious and unattainable to newer talent. And I'd love to hear from you what you think sets promo apart from other, like say, generic commercial voiceover, and how does the approach that an actor makes when they deal with promo copy differ from a generic commercial copy?
That's a great question. Well, okay, so commercially, and I've dealt a lot with commercial work as well, especially when I was an agent. But commercial work is relating to the product, sharing your experience with the product or service, okay, that you're offering. So that's basically your point of view is, wow, I use this product, I love it, or I represent this product, you're going to love this. With promo, it's about the presentation of the show. Okay, it's being more on the inside of what's happening. If it's a comedy, it's bright and upbeat and playful. If that's what the comedy is, it could be a little more wry and whatever. But it's knowing the feel of the show. Cadence is different. You are being interrupted by sound bites, so you've got to be able to understand your story and guide the story along. Okay, so if you're in commercial, you're telling about the product or the service, but here you're interacting with what's happening in the show. If it's an episodic, if it's a generic, you're still the one who knows what's going on, and it's more interactive because you're interacting usually with sound bites. So you're guiding the spot, moving it along, and finding what works with your personality. It's your point of view that you're taking being somehow related to what's happening in there. If a friend, a father, a mother, a child, a reporter, whatever character you create, it's understanding that you're actually more a part of the show. So it is very different.
And so going on that path, what are some common mistakes that you see actors make when they try to do a promo voice?
Oh, that's great. And that is exactly what the problem is when they try to do a promo voice. Long ago and far away, there was a style. There was more of the sell of the show, and that is what it was a little bigger, a little more important, a little more authority of what's happening in the show. But today, it's more depending on the show. It can be more about being one of the guys, being one of the girls. It's about relaxing a little bit more. What they say, take off the polish. Between being conversational and taking off the polish, which are a couple of cues that people give you when they're asking for what they want. Taking off the polish means instead of being so precise It's about the flow. It's rounding things out. It's making it seem more natural in that conversation that you would have with somebody. Instead of speaking every word like this, it's speaking every word like this. Mm-hmm. There's a flow. So that is something they try to put on airs oftentimes, make it a little more important than it is. And people trying to be a Don LaFontaine. Don was Don because he was who he was. He told the story from a very honest point of view. He wasn't trying to sell you anything. He believed what he was saying. He loved every show. He loved every movie. And he meant what he was saying. And he knew what was going on. That's the difference. It's not so much as how he said it. It was not just what he was saying. It was how he was sharing that. So that is, Don was definitely the icon for what people thought of for promo and trailer.
And I love how you pointed out that he was not a persona of himself. That was who he was. He put himself into the copy. And so and I'm sure you have countless because it's one of the things that when we hear voiceover, we think that immediately tonight on Fox or like movie trailers. That's what comes to mind. We don't think of the everyday commercials or audiobooks or video games or all the other fields that there are. So you have this stereotype right at the gate, and everyone thinks that that's what you want now. And it's outdated, it's inauthentic, and it's not the strategy you should be taking.
Right, because there are different demographics that people are going for now and different affinity programming. And by that, I mean, on cable stations, you have HGTV, you have Food Network, you have History Channels 1 and 2, and you have all these Animal Planets. You have programming that's geared to an individual's, interest. Mm-hmm. So somebody watching something about the Animal Planet or Food Network or, HGTV isn't going to be necessarily wanting to be told, and notes on this, we're going to do this. It's more friendly. It's more interactive. It's not the same kind of approach as you would get on maybe some of the network-driven shows. So you have to know where you're working, where you're talking. There's a personality to each station or network, and there's a demographics that comes into play. There's a lot of information that you need to understand when you're looking at promos. There is no one promo read. However, there is a promo cadence. There's an attack of it, but it's not the same kind of read that people think that, if you're doing a promo, you must do this and then that. And you have to understand your story. You are being interrupted by sound bites. So you have to make it feel like it has a continuity to it. Mm-hmm. And that's a difference as well. It's also creating characters, and so it's not a character like an animation character where you have the full body of every emotion, but you have to understand your point of view, the character's point of view who's talking about the show.
So we're running a little bit short on time, so I have one more question for you, Joyce. And since promo is such a desirable field to get into, but a very difficult one, what advice can you give for beginning voice talent or voice talent who want to branch into promo?
Well, I definitely believe that the first and foremost for voice actors has got to be your commercial work. You need to have that as a base. It offers so much in the way of mic technique and breathing technique and understanding, creating characters, okay, in one aspect. But then it's imperative to train in promo. And I believe both with and without audio. And by that I mean Without audio, meaning that you look at the scripts and you have to come up with a concept of where you're going and who you are and what your point of view of who you are talking to. All that stuff has to come into play. You have to be understanding of how you make those decisions. And so that's very important. But you also need to work some to audio, meaning you need an audio bed to work with, and that requires timing. That allows you to create a timing clock, because you can make a great read with time, ad infinitum. But if you have a real promo, if you're going into the networks, they're going to play an audio bed for you. You're not going to have that when you audition from home or you audition from your agent's studio. Okay, that's why you have to understand how to create a story. But when you go in, you have to understand if they give you timings or they give you audio bed where you're having to put your story into the time allotted, you've got to understand how to do that. So training is imperative. Listen to what's out there, get an idea for styles, and then you've got to find your own. Because if you end up sounding like that person, oh, that's what they do, and I hear them in my head and I'm going to sound just like them, they don't need you. They don't need you. They've already got that. What they need is you and your personality and your life experience to tell a story, same story in your own way. So that's what I say. Start and get comfortable in your commercial, then you put on the next hat. The hat of promo is very different, but it's doable. It's getting bigger and bigger. The more stations, companies, you've got Netflix, you've got Yahoo, you've got all these companies producing their own material. And if there's a show, there's a promo needed for it. So as far as I'm concerned, promo just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Hope that helps.
It was gold, VO Mama, gold.
Good.
We are here once again with the lovely and incredibly talented Joyce Castellanos. Thank you so much for being with us today. If you want more of Joyce, you can either sign up for our upcoming commercials class, or you can work with her individually. And I will post a link for her coaching services here and in the description of the video below. So I'm Sean Bailey with the Global Voice Acting Academy. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.